everyone, welcome to a new video. It is me, Desiree, and today I wanted to give you my review on the Profusion Mainstage Eyeshadow Palette, the blush palette, and the sunscreen setting spray. So I bought a few of these items from their festival collection over at the old Walmart a month ago now. I was really excited to get this. It looked really good, and you know what? It has turned out to be one of my favorite palettes I have purchased recently. It's so lovely. I'm gonna go through all the colors. I wasn't going to swatch them, but since I'm here, I might as well. You get a mixture of mattes, shimmers, and glitters down here. And then I also bought the blush palette. You have three beautiful, super summertime colors in this palette. And then I also bought the sunscreen spray, which I did return. It was very, very, very oily looking on my skin, and it had an extremely heavy perfume that drove me crazy and gave me a headache throughout the day. So I did take that back, but these two here are home runs for Profusion. So let's start with the palette. It's called Mainstage. It's a little festival theme. I think the packaging is super cute. They had a lot of stuff to the line, or to like the festival stuff. They had like cream eyeshadows and liners and like cream highlighters, all kinds of different things. So the palette was the main thing that I thought, oh, I have to get that. I mean, look at the color, look at the packaging, and there's something about holding a giant palette that is just so satisfying. This retailed for $15, which I think is a steal for this palette. You also get a big giant mirror that seems to be good quality. It's not one of those mirrors that looks like it's flattened out tin foil and it might be a funhouse mirror. It actually works and it's really nice. And this is the color selection. Very bright, very fun. Some more muted colors in here, some pastels. Not a beige or brown in sight. I have used every single color in here, some of them multiple times. Some of them you could tell that I used it for 2 weeks straight. It has a ton of little dips in it and little brush strokes. It's just a really, really well done, really nicely formulated palette. There were a couple of shades in here that I felt were overlapping, like these two here. Those two look identical when you get them on your eyes. One of them has like a little star imprint on it, so I guess that's what makes it a little different. But they're literally the same shade, and they're right next to each other, so you could tell it's the same shade. Same thing with this purple gradient one here. Even though this part looks a little darker and that a little lighter, I haven't really noticed when I just use this and this that it looks that different on the eyes. This one down here obviously is more of a gradient. Like this, these are two different shades here, but I feel like they could have just cut that and made two shades. Like, what was the point of making it the gradient? But I think it's just kind of adding a little bit of fun to the palette. So let's go ahead and swatch it. These mattes are so creamy. They're really creamy, really smooth and buttery. They're all true to color as well. So even that little like light green one on the end, it's gonna show up that color on your eyes. They're not chalky, they're not dry. They don't like blow away as you're trying to buff them onto your eyelids. Obviously these swatches aren't going to be like the most intense things ever because these are a little more on the pastel-y kind of side. And also swatches I don't really think like give you a whole lot to go by as far as the colors go. But this is how they picked up on my fingers anyway. Like that's how they show up on the eyes. As far as them swatching, they're not going to swatch that good. It's just sometimes colors just don't. And it depends on what I have on my hand. So once I wipe these off and I've cleaned it with micellar water, my hand's gonna feel a little tacky and the shades are gonna stick to it a little more, you know? So don't judge a palette by the swatches. It doesn't always tell you everything you need to know. But I will tell you the mattes are very, very creamy, smooth, buttery, rich, really lovely formula. Ooh, those ones have a lot of pigment to them. That would be a really pretty eye look right there. Those four I had just swatched were these three and this one down here. That is really pretty. That's a nice little quad right there. All right, even these blues, the blue and the green on that bottom, the bottom row, they're so pretty. I wore that blue multiple times and I always thought ColourPop had like the best blue. Why am I, okay. This is what happens when you're swatching on your arm because it looks straight right here, but then you go to show it and it's all crooked. I always thought ColourPop had the best blue formula out there, but these Profusion ones, this is really, really good. Now I know why I wasn't gonna swatch it. The green one down here called Festival Grounds is so pretty. It's like this really nice, it looks like it's forest green in the pan, but then you blend it out and it has a little bit of a teal color to it. It blends super nicely on the eyes. It doesn't go on patchy or streaky or anything like that. Sometimes colors of that nature can do that, but that doesn't. It's really, really, really nice. I hadn't swatched these before. I've touched some of them, but not in this kind of a way, and I messed up that star pattern on that one there. So although this is mostly a matte palette, you do get 4 shimmer shades in here. I kind of like that there were only a couple of shimmer shades in here because the mattes are so good that I would have, like, after having gotten to know the mattes so well over the last month, I would have been mad if there were more shimmers because the mattes are so good. I literally have wanted to reach for this palette every single day. It's such a lovely palette. So the 4 shimmers, these were the ones I was kind of like about when I first tried out the palette because, you know, to touch a shimmer or metallic shadow, you want it to be creamy and smooth. You want it to pick up nicely on your fingers. And I do apply shimmers pretty much exclusively with my fingers unless I'm using a loose pigment or something. These are the 4 that you get in here. This one here called Selfie, that's the one I have on my lids today. And although it doesn't swatch that good, it does apply on the lids nicely. It's very sparkly and I don't notice the sparkles falling down all over my face throughout the day. I was kind of shocked about that because of how kind of dry it feels. The green one here called Escape is probably the best shimmer in here. It actually reminds me a lot of a City Color shimmer shadow that I used to be so crazy about. Like, it feels exactly the same. Super pretty, very true to color, and it shows up really, really nicely on the eyes as well. And another thing about these shimmers is that they stick on the eyes really good. Sometimes with these kind of shimmers, especially the ones that feel a little bit flaky, they feel like they won't stick onto your lid and you got to use some sort of like glitter glue or something like that, or apply them wet even. I haven't tried that and I think they work just fine on their own. The red one, another one I was kind of like about, but it's actually really, really pretty. Again, goes on the eyes really well. This one here called Mood, if there was one dud in the shade, it's definitely this one. This one got hard pan the first time I used it. And one of my requirements when it comes to shimmer shadows, I have to be able to use my fingers. I can't have the shadow react to the oils on my fingers and seal over like this one did, because this one is completely unusable now. Like, even as much as I'm pressing it, like, that's how much I'm getting. I did try to use it a few times and it does go on and adds a nice little sheen, but not the way I feel like they were intending that color to be. So the other ones haven't gotten hard pan at all. They work great with my fingertips, but this one here kind of just sealed over. So even with a couple of overlap shades, I mean, these are the only 2 that really look identical on the lids. And then most of this gradient does kind of look pretty much the same. It's just like one big shadow. There weren't really a lot of other overlap shades. I could tell the difference between every single one of these, even though some of them look similar in the pan, like maybe this one and this one. They are different colors and they look different on your eyes. Like, one's definitely more red, one's definitely more orange. Other than that, there were 3 glitters down here that I wasn't even intending to touch because I knew they were going to be a mess. I wasn't really going to use them anyway, and I don't use things like that on my eyes very often because I don't really know what to do with them. But you get a white sparkly one here that has some like moons in it, the blue one called Strobe Lights that has stars, and the one called Backstage that is full of hearts. And these actually were not what I expected. I ended up really liking these a lot. A lot. They are in like a kind of jelly type of thing. They kind of, I've never tried one of the ColourPop Jelly Much shadows, but for some reason I feel like they're like this. They have held up so far after having had it open for a month that they're still sticky. They still cling to the eyes. They come with their own like base in there, so you don't need to use a separate kind of glitter glue type of thing. Where can I swatch these? They're very, very sticky. And I mean, using something like this can be a little tricky because you want the the little hearts to be certain spots on your eyelids, you know? You want the moons to not be upside down and sideways. So I did a look using the white one called Silent Disco. I'll link the video down below because I actually used the whole palette for the look, and I used that color all on my inner corner. Oddly enough, it went on super easy. It stuck on my eyes all day long. I never found one glitter on my face at all. I found one of the glitters on the floor in like the little hallway by the bathroom, but I didn't see them on my face at all. They stuck there all day until I took them off. And another great thing about these glitters is that they washed off really easily. I didn't find myself having to like find glitter in my lash line the next day or anything like that. They were just really, really nice, really fun to use, and they stuck on the lid really, really well. I don't have anything bad to say about them. If you like this kind of stuff, you'll enjoy it. I do wish there was some like seal over them so they wouldn't dry out, but other than that, they're doing just fine. They are kind of seeping into the packaging. I don't know if you can see, but the oil or like the gel that's holding them in there, it's kind of like seeping into the cardboard a little bit, so it looks like it's greasy around them. And then there was one con with this palette, and it is that these don't have a cover on them, so you will find pieces of the glitter randomly in the shadows sometimes. So like when I went to put on this eyeshadow earlier, I did pick off a few pieces of glitter. It's not the end of the world because it's just there and it's dry by the time it reaches here, so you can kind of just take it off or blow it off. But they're there, and I think they work fine, and I think they add a little fun kind of different thing to the palette. But I love this palette. I think it was well worth $15. I hope it holds up though, because I haven't had the best experience with Profusion palettes lasting, like having a long shelf life. Like the other two I tried that I loved a lot, I only got to use them for a couple of, no, maybe a few months, and then it was like, that was kind of the whole life they had. So I'm hoping this one holds up because it's the bomb. Definitely a home run for Profusion. And then the blush palette, again, this was only $6. And I have used this most days. I want to say out of a 7-day week, I probably would pick this 5 or 6 times out of the week. I wore it constantly. I love every single one of these colors. They are very, very pigmented. Very pigmented. And normally I don't like stuff like that because I want to be able to dip into the palette a couple of times and blend it out however I want. But these blend like a dream. The one I have on here today is this one here on the end, and they blend out super easy. So even though they have a lot of pigment, the pigment's going to be able to like blend around the skin, put it on your nose, wherever you want it to go. I know this looks like I haven't used it at all because you barely need to dip in here, but it blends so nicely, and I'm so thrilled with this palette. I think it was awesome, and I can't believe it was only $6. So that's my review. If you want to see the eye look, this is the look I created with the palette. Stay tuned. But if you're just here for the review, thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you think of the palette. I would love to hear your thoughts on it as well. But anyway, get on to the tutorial. Alright, so let's recreate the look. I do have eye primer on already. Of course, using my favorite, the eye primer from Morphe. It's been sitting on my lids for a little bit, so it's pretty much dried down now. And this look that I'm gonna recreate is one that I wore last week. It was actually when I went to buy all this stuff at Sephora. I got 5 compliments that day on my eyeshadow, and I don't get compliments like that all that often. 3 people complimented it throughout my workday, and 2 of the Sephora workers did, and I was like, well, I must be onto something. So I'm going to use the purple shade, the yellow shade, the green one as the shimmer on the lid, and I might do some of this like limey color here. I might work that in too. Obviously I'm doing this before I filmed the video, so I don't really know where the look's gonna go, but I'm gonna keep it basically how I did it that day. So let's start with that purple shade. I'm just going to blend it all over the lid, and I do kind of like to pat it on like this rather than immediately start blending, just because I feel like it kind of evenly distributes the color a little bit better. And of course I am starting eyes first, just because sometimes those shimmers do give a little bit of fallout. Again, on the other side, just patting it on at first and then kind of blending it around. And I really love how easily these mattes blend. It's such a nice formula. I am curious with this palette though to see if it holds up well, because I had two other palettes from Profusion, the Ethereal palette and the Harvest palette, and I really loved them. I thought they were so good. What a great formula. But they didn't really hold up. Just after a few months, I found they were really, like, they didn't work the same. Like, the pigment wasn't there, they weren't blending. It was weird. So I'm hoping this one holds up because I really, really like it. Gonna add a little more. I want it to go a little bit higher. Okay, then I'm gonna take that green one there called Selfie. It's like a green shimmery color, and pat that on the lid. And every time I do purple and green together, of course, I immediately think of the Joker. And I didn't think these colors were gonna go together. I just kind of tried it, and I really, really liked the way that it looked. And the shimmer held up all day. It didn't fall all over my face. I wasn't finding sparkles anywhere. It was really nice. And it also sticks on the lid really well and sticks on top of powder. So like days where I have done like the powder shadow all over the lid and then went back in with this color, or like one of the shimmers, they stay right there. They don't just kind of fall everywhere. It's really nice. A little on my lashes. I think I do want to add some of that yellow or that lime green up here, but I'm going to go ahead and put the rest of my makeup on first, and then we'll finish up the eyes, like the lower lash line, inner corner, and all that kind of stuff. So BRB. And voila, everything else is done. I did go back in with the brush that I used to blend out the purple. I didn't add any more, but I just re-blended it. So when I do my eyeshadow first, I mostly am just trying to get the bulk of it on, not make it look perfect. Because then once I get the rest of the stuff on, as I'm blending foundation and stuff around, I might have gotten makeup here. So I kind of just go around and re-blend it, re-buff it out, and just kind of even it out as well. So I'm going to go in with that color Memories, that yellow one, on my little e.l.f. smudge brush here, and I'm going to pick a little up. I'm going to put that on the inner corner. And I'm also going to blend it up the lid. But I mostly want to keep it in the tear duct area, just to have that little yellow pop right there. I'm trying to do real slow because I don't want to disturb the shimmer any more than I have to, or to blend it away, you know. Cool. All right, I'm just gonna wipe that off a little bit, and I'm gonna go back in with the purple. You know what? I'm gonna go in with this one up here, this gradient purple. It's the one that's a little bit lighter, because I don't really want that dark purple on my lower lash line, just something a little lighter, because I'm not gonna do lower lash mascara. And if I do that super dark color, I feel like I'm gonna need the mascara to kind of balance it out. I don't have one that I want to use right now. You know what? I am going to put lower lash mascara on, and I'm just going to have to deal with the smudge because I want to put on some black liner, and I'm going to need the mascara to really balance that out. Let's do a little Urban Decay, what is this? The 24/7 Glide On Pencil in the shade 0, just this dark liner. I just realized I forgot to use the blush palette, so I'm going to put more blush on, so you could see one of these in action. So what I had put on my cheeks already was the Papa Don't Peach blush from Too Faced. I want to say over the last month, this is the most used blush thing. I have literally used every single one of these multiple times. It doesn't even look like I've touched it. Like, unless you're looking super up close, maybe you could see brush strokes, but the amount of blush you need from these is so minuscule. I don't know what word I was trying to think of, but I'm gonna go in with this orange one right here because I think it'll match the one I already have on. And I'm literally just tapping like this, like not even dabbing the brush in, because it's that intense. Ooh, what I did just there, I dabbed the brush into the pan. It does blend really nicely though, so I find that no matter how much I get on, it does blend around. Like it doesn't just stay like a stamp. You know what I mean? Can't believe I forgot to use this. I just had it in the drawer, I forgot to pull it out, and I was mostly focused on the palette. But I have been using it regularly. I think the colors are so pretty. I mean, look at this nice coral color. I love putting it over the nose. Every single one of these is a home run. I think they would show up on darker skin. They're super pigmented. So when you use it for the first time, don't go in like you normally would with blush. Maybe this one you could do that with, but even then it's pigmented. Get a little bit like this and use that for both cheeks and really blend it around before you dip into more, because it's intense. It's a lot, but it's so good. I absolutely love it. Okay. Freaking eyebrows. And that's that. The look is complete. I absolutely love this palette. I think the mattes are super easy to blend. Even though a lot of them are really bright colors, they blend really well. They pair together really well. And I've been having so much fun just kind of bouncing around the palette, putting colors together that I wouldn't normally, like purple and green and yellow. But I think they go together really nicely. Little black lash and some black liner always kind of grounds those colors a little bit. But I've also been wearing this a lot as one shadow looks. Like I've regularly just gotten the blue all over the lid. I'm curious to see how it's gonna hold up though. I have only had this for a month, so hopefully this one doesn't go off like the other ones did. But I'm loving the palette a lot, and if you've been looking at it and wondering if it's good, I think it's amazing, and I can't believe how cheap it is for how good it's been working for me. But yeah, that is it. Thank you so much for watching this video. Let me know if you've tried out this palette. I would love to know your opinion on it. But thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one, and I will see you later in another video.